Hello everyone! It's time for Freestyle Friday. Which is our new segment on the YouTube channel where we talk about other products that I'm really interested in and I can't wait to try and can't wait to talk about. And today we're talking about these Crayola brush markers. So I just got these not that long ago, and I wanted to show you kind of how they work and kind of some different things that hello Beth Jones, a couple of different things that I have been playing around with them, and they're at an incredible price point. They're only, I think, $12 on Amazon, so it's a great starter brush marker to invest in, and it comes in this great tin. It makes it a little bit more adult-like for a Crayola product. And if you guys watched my review of the brush markers on last Friday, we reviewed some brush markers, and they also had these trays, which I really love with a brush marker, is when they have these trays that you can just pull out and put right into your drawer. So I think that that's my number one most exciting part about it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take some paper here, and I'm going to swatch some things out. I have two different types of paper. I have a watercolor paper, and then I also have this media paper that we're going to be bringing to Brutus Monroe in 2018. So I'm going to swatch it out on both different types of paper to show you what the difference is between the two. And we're just going to do a red, orange, a yellow, and a green, and a blue. We're just going to do a rainbow. And what you'll notice is it does have an incredible brush tip on the end, and then it also has this smaller nib on the end as well. So you can write with this side or do whatever you'd like with this side, but also with this side you can do, of course, some brush marker coloring. So I'm just going to go in first with the red, and I'm just going to color in, and this isn't a real brush marker, so it's not like the ones that we've reviewed before. It's more of a harder nib. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some water because, of course, in true Crayola form, these are washable and they are water soluble. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring out some of this color, and I love this media paper. So I'm just going to swatch out this red, and you'll see it does lose its vibrancy once it's swatched out. That's the only number, well, that's the one thing, the first thing that I noticed whenever I started swatching these out. And the color names on these are true color names. So orange is orange, red is red. Once we get into some of the greens is when, of course, the color names are going to change kind of drastically because there are multiple greens. And again, I'm just going in and I'm swatching out. And you'll see how it really does lend itself to being blended, which is really, really, really cool. And now I'm going to go in and grab a yellow. And again, these are just the brush markers from Crayola. It's something that is new to me. I don't know how new they are to the market, but I have been having a lot of fun with them, swatching them out. And we're actually going to do some watercoloring of one of the Brutus Monroe stamps as well. And there is the yellow. Now we're going to do a green. They do fade back when they're dry. They do. But we're going to try to rectify that whenever I'm actually coloring the stamp that I'm going to color, because some of the colors seem to be a little bit truer than others. So I think it all depends on how much liquid you give it and things like that. But this paper does soak up a lot of water. So although it's, not a true watercolor, it does do the job when it comes to watercoloring. So now we're going to do a blue, and then we'll do a purple. And then we'll try, they do blend. They blend beautifully because it's a really good, water-based ink. So they do move very easily. And now we're going to do a purple. Then I'm going to show you just some blending on watercolor paper.
Do you play Roblox?
I have no idea what that means. No idea what that means. I do not. Do not, Beth Jones. I'm not sure what that is. And Heather's in here with me. Everyone say hi to Heather. She's moderating everything right now. So she is next to me, and she just asked me if I played that game, and I have no idea what that means.
Hello.
Okay, so we're just going to drag out some of this purple, and I think these colors are really, I mean, they're very, very pretty. So those are the 5 rainbow colors. Hello, Monique. So I'm going to go ahead and put this to the side to let that dry for a moment. But I did do some swatches earlier, and here are some colors that I swatched earlier, and you can see how they... what they look like when they're completely dry. So they do blend. I mean, they're real pretty. I mean, they really do have a subtle kind of look to them, which I like. So now I'm going to grab my watercolor paper, and we're just going to do what we did before, which was a red to an orange blend. So we'll start with red here on this side, and the markers are very juicy. I will say that. It's a very juicy marker.
Game.
Oh, it's a kid's game? Okay. I was not familiar. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add some of the red and some of the orange on either side. Then I'm going to grab my water brush, and I'm going to attempt to blend these two together. And like you can see here, the pigment is moving really well. Some of the pigments move easier than others. Like, for instance, this orange is a lot easier to pick up than the red is, but they are blending, but you can see that there is some cross-contamination, which we didn't see with the other markers. So they do, contaminate one another. So the red has more of an orange quality to it now, and it's now moving over to the orange. So they blend. I mean, it looks beautiful on this watercolor paper, and this is probably my favorite color. Nope, not that one. This one is probably my favorite color out of all of them since I've been playing with them, and this one is the blue, green, or teal. So it looks like there are different colors on either side now that I'm noticing that. So this is teal, and then this is saying it's blue-green. So let's see how different. Oh, we learned something together. So it is a different color on the other side. So I'm assuming that these are supposed to be complementary colors to one another. So let's see. We'll blend this out. You can see it's really blending well. You can see very little of that marker sketch line. And then let's grab this one, and we can kind of blend these two together. Obviously, the sketch line of the more... the finer marker is going to be more prevalent, but yeah, I'd say these two colors work very well together. They blend really, really well. Oh, yes, probably. Yep. And I just learned the other day that we are actually cleared for YouTube Kids. So you can watch all of my videos on YouTube Kids because we are a family-friendly channel. So that's most likely why we have the kiddos in. So welcome to the kiddos that are in our live today. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start painting painting one of our stamps. So we'll let this dry as well. But I'm going to be taking this stamp set, which is one of my absolute most favorite stamp sets that we've done, and it is not retiring this year. So that's exciting. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to do some coloring with this and see what type of shading levels we can get and see really, if we can do some true, adult coloring and shading that will, oops, sorry about that noise, that will work, with this actual stamp. So I'm going to go in and I'm just going to color the way that I normally would with a brush or a watercolor grade marker, where I take, the natural shadow of the stamp and I add the coloration to that centermost point. And if you guys would like me to do a more detailed coloring video, I'd be more than happy to do that, because this isn't going to be super detailed. And now I'm going to take my water brush and I'm going to blend that out, and I must say it's blending pretty well from that dark to light. So again, if you're looking for an inexpensive brush marker for coloring, I'd say so far this one is pretty good. You don't get the I will show you in 1 second. They do. They are more of a felt like tip, so I'll show you that in a second here. They're more of a felt like tip, so you can see, and I'll bring this up a little bit closer, hopefully it'll zoom. They do bounce back from me just using it there, and they dry pretty well. So I'm going to go back in here and add a little bit more of that darker shading color, and we'll see if we can't bring in a little bit more shading. But yeah, they do. It's kind of strange how well they are bouncing back. But again, it's a Crayola product that's obviously marketed towards adults, so that's why I think it has a little bit more of an, I guess I would say more of an artist grade, but not truly an artist grade, because again, they are you know, it's just a washable. And I couldn't find any additional information on the I guess the ink makeup, so to speak, or what makes up the inks of these markers. But I'm gonna zoom in real quick so you guys can see. I zoomed in a little too much, that's okay. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take what would be considered a darker color in the set. This one is called Raspberry, and the first one we were using is Parrot Pink. And I'm just gonna bring in some of that raspberry into some of the areas that are naturally shaded, and you'll notice that because the illustration has some lines in there that lend themselves to natural shading. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in some of this raspberry color, and then again just blend that out ever so gently, and you'll see that it's going to give us some really cool look, you know, really cool shading to it without really having to do much at all. And that, to me, is what creates a rock star marker, because you can use these markers and you can shade and you can blend, and it's at a lower price point. Now your colors are going to be, of course, very, very, very limited to what is in the pack, but since they do blend pretty well, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that yeah, I do like that the tips are different shades as well, because that will work really well if you are trying to do different types of shading, but you're not really great at, you know, picking out the colors that you want to shade with, because of course, you know, sometimes it does get a little bit tricky when you're going in and you're adding in shading and things like that whenever you are trying to do, you know, things on the color wheel and lights to darks and things like that. But as you can see here, it's becoming, I mean, this is pretty simple to add in this color and to really bring these flowers to life. And I think they look, you know, pretty good for a Crayola, you know, a Crayola, what again would be marketed, you know, normally to children, but it's now, you know, the new adult branding that they've switched to. But I'm not disappointed, I'll say that. They're not terrible. But I saw these the other day and I said, oh, I have to grab these because I really would love to test them out. So of course I did stamp this in the Raven Detail ink because it is completely permanent when dry and waterproof. Now I'm going to go in, just add some real gentle shading to some of the green leafy areas, just so we have a little bit of something down here towards the bottom. And again, if you would want to add some lighter greens in here, you could, but for the sake of the live, we are just going to just add in just one shade of green because I think that's sufficient. But yeah, there you go. It was very, you know, really much simpler than I thought it would be. And then of course they do include a black as well as a gray. So the black is one side, the gray is the other. So with the gray, you know, you can add in your shadowing. So you just add in, and I would say you'd want to come in pretty quickly here and kind of move that out a little bit, and that's just going to create a beautiful shadowed effect as if this bouquet is on a table and, you know, the leaves are kind of raised up. But you can, of course, you can do that in black as well. I just tend to do it in a lighter gray because the lighter gray lends itself to more of a shadow type effect rather than, you know, the look of. Now, they will not write on top of the water, so they are definitely a water-soluble marker. So I'm going to go ahead on in and blend this gray out. And again, you want to be kind of quick because it's the ink does want to absorb into the paper pretty quickly because it is, again, like I said, it is a water-based ink, but I'm not certain, you know, what the properties are of the ink. So it may, you know, be that it's going to try to absorb into it quicker, and I don't know that necessarily they were created for watercoloring, but like I said, it's definitely working well. So I'm just gonna go in because I can't leave well enough alone and add a little bit more shading to these flowers since they've dried a little bit, because I want to bring them a little bit more to life here, and then we will be done with this review. But again, they are from Amazon, is where I got mine. Amazon, and they are, I think, right now they're actually on sale. I think they were only $12,
Target
and Target has them too.
Yeah,
So
for
Target for $11.99. Target has them too, Heather said. So this is something that, you know, Crayola is a name that we've trusted as, you know, children, and, you know, they're the best crayons and the best markers and things of that nature. So now to have it in an adult configuration, I think is great, and I just love the way those flowers turned out. And I will, of course, finish this after the live, but as you can see here,
Michael's too.
Michael's has them as well. Awesome. So I'm just adding in a little bit more water where this shading has ceased, because you can't really see where the shading is when you're first coloring it in because it's such a light color. But as you can see now, you can probably see that shading and that shadowing, but I think that is a very, very pretty flower, and it was really simple to do. So now let's go back and check on our watercolor paper. So there's our watercolor paper, and you can see it did blend very beautifully once it dried back. And you can see that here, wherever there's more water, you are going to run into an issue where it's going to, you know, pull back and almost give you a tie-dye effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a couple little dripples of water to this, and we're going to see if we can do any of the pulling of the water, which is very popular, where we just put some water on it, let it sit there, and then we take a paper towel or a rag, and we just let that pull off of there, which I'm assuming it's going to do because it is very much so a pigmented watercolor. So we'll try that, and then I just want to try out this blue because I've been eyeing up this blue. So let's go ahead and take this. It's what was on there long enough, and just put this on there. And yep, it did exactly what I thought it was going to do. So that's cool too. I bet you we could even use these to stamp with, which is probably what my next trick will be. But yeah, this blue is really moving around well. I'm gonna actually grab one of our new stamp sets, the new abstract shapes. We're gonna see if we can. We're gonna see if we can go ahead and stamp with these as well. So here is that, and let's just grab this shape. And again, we're using the photopolymer stamps from Bruce Monroe. We grab my stamp block, and let's see. I'm gonna add a little bit of water to this first, because I'm not certain that it's completely clean from the last time we used it. and it's not because there's a little bit of black coming off of it from our detail ink. So let me just clean this off really well first. And okay, and now let's take this real deep, beautiful purple. We're just gonna color the stamp in. You can see there was unfortunately some paper residue on my stamp, so that's why you want to use you don't want to use paper towels on your stamps, because you can see what just happened there. There's so much residue on that stamp. Well, let's go ahead and give it a spritz and see if it doesn't give us a good impression. I'm assuming it probably will. And let's see what that does. We'll just let it sit there for a second so it can soak into the paper. And then we'll lift it off. And there we go. I'd say that's a pretty good impression, because that's really, I mean, what the stamp was. And these abstract shapes lend themselves to a really cool, oh, I'm off camera. Let me zoom out a little bit. Oh, it says we have a bad connection. Have we reconnected? We've reconnected. Good. Okay, so now I don't know how much you guys just saw, but I'm going ahead and I'm adding more of this marker to this abstract stamp. And then all I do is do one gentle spritz of water. I probably got too close, so I'm going to spritz this off camera. Just a gentle spritz of water, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place it down here. And you just want to give it a second, because what needs to happen is that ink that's underneath of there, and you can give it a little extra smush or, you know, whatever you would like. Just don't move it. And then when you lift it up, you'll see that impression. Now, that's a little bit of a lighter impression because it's a lighter color, but that's, you know, not going to stop me. I think that's still going to create a really cool pattern. And let's use my favorite, which is this dark kind of turquoise-ish color. And again, all I'm doing is I'm going in and adding the color and then giving it a light spritz. And the darker colors seem to work better this way, but I think this is really cool. And then I'm going to grab, and I'm just going to do a quick spritz, 2 little spritzes, and then pop it down there. And again, remember, just give it a second, because that ink needs to marry with the paper. And it might be a little bit different on watercolor cardstock, so we'll take a look at that too. But there you go. I mean, it's a different, really cool impression every time, which I really, really think is definitely neat and very, very, very different. So, do I have a scrubbing pad? I think it's right down there. Heather's going to grab me a scrubbing pad so I can actually clean these stamps in between. Perfect, thank you. And then we'll get some squeaky clean. This is the Brutus & Rose scrubbing pad that I swear by, because it's lint-free.
Hi, Regina.
Hello, Regina. Thank you for joining us. You came at an exciting time. We're cleaning stamps. Okay, so now let's try it on watercolor paper, because the watercolor paper may absorb it a little bit more. So let's use, again, our red side.
Ukraine.
Hello, Ray. Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. I really do. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put the red onto our stamp here. And then I'm going to add little spritzes of water. And then we'll see what this does on the watercolor paper. Now, I do have it on the side that is the heavily textured side. So let's lift that up and see what we get. Oh, not bad. I'm not going to complain about it. I think that that's really cool and very, very unique. And like I said, it will be unique and different every time, which is what I love. So let's just grab one more. And, whoops, put that on the wrong side. And then let's do maybe this scribble one to see what we can get with that.
Close again.
Let's see, that's because we have a whole bunch of Whole bunch of things coming in. Okay, can you guys still see me? They are doing an awesome job for $10. I will say that. They are. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw some teal on this guy. And I just think, I mean, that's really cool. I'm going to do one quick little spritz because we don't want too much water. And go ahead and stamp that down. Now, we're probably not going to get the detail that we would normally get. I would say that's not bad. That's I'd say that's pretty darn good, because let me stamp next to it. I'm going to stamp next to it in detail ink exactly what the stamp is supposed to look like. And then you can see how well this old marker did. So let me go ahead and stamp next to it with the detail ink in the way that it would be stamped in real life with actual ink. You can see how great that little marker just did. So I'm going to stamp it down here, and there you go. I'd say that's a pretty good marker duplicate. Not bad. All right, so I'm going to head off, everyone. Thank you all so much for tuning in today and watching our quick review of the Crayola markers. And I think that's pretty good for, a quick lickety-split watercoloring. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I will talk to all of you guys next week when we do another review of some products that I could not wait to try. And until then, I ask you to all create your own ending and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.